Aloha. So we're on the ʻAha goodness today, coming out from Kaupo, Maui. This is August 14th, 2016. And I just wanted to, as usual, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I just wanted to, put my thoughts on our movement right now, and specifically, I wanted to talk about ʻAha and kind of take stock of where we're at and where we're going with this, and actually to get a little more specific about a couple points that I think are really important, really unique about it that maybe don't get enough focus. So that's what I want to talk about today. I've worked with ʻAha since early this year when they were first getting organized, and actually as a follow-up to the protest Na'Iapuni group. And as some of you might know, I was a participant in the Na'Iapuni ʻAha, but due to my extreme concerns over the form that governance was taken, being controlled by the state of Hawaii, and getting away from the people. So basically, I just need to say also one other thing, which is although I co-hosted one ʻAha event in New York City a couple months ago, which I was extremely proud to do, I am not speaking in any way for the ʻAina leadership or the coalition members. Just want to get that out of the way. This is just my own thoughts as a Hawaiian. ʻAina was formed around a few simple goals, which include the statement that the Na'Iapuni ʻAha does not speak for the Hawaiians as a group, and should not be making deals with the Department of Interior to create a Native Hawaiian governing entity, or make a global settlement with the state of Hawaii, especially because of the way that the process is controlled from day one by the state of Hawaii. It's just illogical for the state of Hawaii as a supposed sovereign entity to create another sovereign entity which when they can enter into negotiations with. The sovereign entity must be exercised by that group itself. So just a little history, not history, but really focus something I want to focus on. ʻAina was really created to have a proactive and a positive role to showcase independence advocates and what we've done over the decades in building and rebuilding the nation. It's not something new, but it's something that we must continue to focus and encourage. And it's also a statement saying that Na'Iapuni does not, they can't do nation building. It's already been happening. So, but there was a real focus inside the Na'Iapuni ʻAha. There was an attempt to tie pro-independence Kanaka as being for the status quo, which is something that all Hawaiians feel is unacceptable. Really, that was, in my opinion, that's a slant, because the way that the Department of Interior is envisioning federal recognition, it's actually enshrining our situation in the status quo under that federal rule, because they're not really offering anything different. So you can just turn those tables around on that term. Now, back to ʻAina, one of the valuable contributions that it had was the adoption of the ancient framework for civil governance in the civil polity under David Malo's ancient Hawaiian antiquities. The kino, the concept of the government system as a body, and each part has its own role. Nakoa, the Levaya, Kalaimoku. Basically, all the parts of the body need to operate both independently and as a holistic system. If one side gets out of balance, it's not good for the whole system and the health of the system, and it's an unhealthy governance structure. So the fact to refocus on the kino, I feel, cuts across our modern conceptions of governance, and refocuses it in a way that all Hawaiians can understand. So I think that's just a really valuable way to look at it. We need to keep exercising parts of the kino, and relearn how to move as a body. I think, however, there's something clear, that needs to be stated about ʻAha ʻAina, which is not always clearly said, but it goes back to the way that Kalani Akeo Wilson, that I heard him first describe it, which is the implementation, which is that they're specifically not bringing the organization of the po'o, the heads, into the governance exercise in those ʻaha. So that was intentional. The way he explained it is that everybody wants to be the po'o, and if we keep focusing on that in the ʻAha ʻAina, we're just arguing over, which political head system is the best, and it's kind of a distraction on what the intention is, which is to focus on rebuilding all the parts of the kino, and also not just turn it into a fight over what is the ultimate governance structure. So in a way, I feel it's really valuable, but in the fact that intentionally taking one step back and not just focusing on the head, but focusing on the entire system and the conception of a governing system. Is it healthy? Is it healthy for the body? Is it unhealthy for the body? What are those practices that we can focus on as we rebuild our independent systems, our independent action? We need to make these kind of judgments, and we need guidance from our kupuna on how to recognize these systems that we are rebuilding, whether we are copying unhealthy governance structures into our own structures and it's just ours, but or are we do we have a framework for judging whether these systems that we're building are healthy or not? Are they holistic or not? So I think that ʻike is really incredibly valuable to us as Hawaiians, and we need to keep that as a framework, especially if we're gonna go forward as independent. If we're going to have an independent nation, Hawaiian Kingdom, anything, whatever, we have to have a model for judging whether it's good or bad, so we can, navigate, we can navigate our va'a, basically. There's not only one path, because, the map is not the territory. The territory, you can get one map, right? And then the world changes, the landscape changes. You could see we're in a living landscape. What worked 20 years ago is not going to work 20 years from now exactly the same way, because the path changes based on the way people walk. So we need that framework, we need that guidance, we need the inspiration, but we need to adjust. We need to have the trust in the people, not just at the top, but all through the system at every part that they touch. So this is really part of what I really want to discuss today. And just a couple other things. One thing about Na'ia Puni and the movement, I think that we should understand. Okay, so Na'ia Puni, as many of you know, it came out of, there was a Kaka bill, there was Act 195, Kana'i Oluwalu Native Hawaiian Royal Commission, then Na'ia Puni was created, they had ʻAha, and then now it's disbanded, right? So officially it's disbanded, but they have a constitution that they want to have a referendum vote so they can stand up a government, and they create a new entity called Aloha Lahui, which is doing fundraising, private funds, to have a vote on that constitution, for have Hawaiians vote on it. So that's one side of it, and then the other side is the Department of Interior proposed rule for federal recognition of Native Hawaiian governing entity. These two things are trying to link up, right? So the Department of Interior is still going on, that process, and the feds, they have their own timeline for doing this, okay? So ʻAha Aloha ʻAina has gone to them and said, Na'ia Puni doesn't speak for us. We're going to speak to you directly, but we're not going to speak to you for to recognize us as the government. We're going to speak to you because to say that we have more Hawaiians interested in independence and not rejecting what Na'ia Puni is doing. And I want to say that ʻAha Aloha ʻAina has had 20-something ʻaha around Hawaii and on the continent, and with over 2,000 participants in attendance. And these are organized around their simple goals. So they're able to go to both Helani at first delivered petitions to them, even though they didn't really take her meeting. But Kalamani'iheu was able to do a follow-up and get a meeting and actually present this evidence to them. And so they know that it's not only CNHA and the Shah that are representing Hawaiians, because those are the ones that are talking to the Department of Interior. Now they know specifically and in person, face to face, and with the evidence that the Na'ia Puni people do not speak for Hawaiians. And I think that's a really important thing, to engage in that, engage every way that we can, even if it doesn't fit with who you're talking to. Like your model of how governance should be doesn't fit with who you're talking to in the Department of Interior, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't talk to them. That means you need to send them the message, specifically, your position. So about this Aloha Lahui thing, at first their plan was to have a referendum vote by the end of this year, before Obama left office. But they had to last month they had to back off, and they said, well, we're gonna wait till our fundraising efforts haven't been anywhere near what they thought. They thought they would have to raise $2 million to have these elections, and they've fallen far short of that. And so they said, oh, we're just going to put it off to late next year, 2017. I think Jade was quoted in the Star Advertiser article about that. So I want to say this, which is, this is, on the political battlefield, this is a win. This is a win for ʻAha Aloha ʻAina, Protest Na'ia Puni. It's a win for any Hawaiians that don't want to follow their lead, because Hawaiians came out and made their opinions known, organized over and over, in person, in the media, in their communities, in their ohana. And I think we should take stock of that. We should say, this is not an end of the war, but this is, that was a tactical retreat that that was achieved. And we should be proud of that, It's not that we should let our guard down, but, mahalo, everybody, it's a good thing, mai ka'i. I just wanted to say that, and even, both people resisting on all fronts and trying to pivot from resisting in opposition to pivoting to, well, let's be proactive, and what is the governance model for independence that we really want to do. I'm really proud, of everybody that's giving these efforts, both the people on the front line, at the gates, who got arrested, every single one got, the charges dismissed, and one of whose charges dismissed with prejudice because she was exercising her, her right. Basically in the HRS code, there's a carve out for if you're trespassing, it has to meet constitutional muster if it's a political or religious action. Dismissed with prejudice. It's like, I don't want to, basically the judge was saying, I don't want to see any cases like this in my court again, that's big, so, and also those, inside the ʻAha, speaking face to face, both those like who resigned the process, like Bumpy Kanahele, or others like myself, or many others who, either voted no or intentionally abstained their vote because they decided, I cannot be a part, anymore with this process. This is a multi-pronged effort, and we just need to recognize that, we got a lot of operations here, but we have to be cohesive. We have to keep going, That's really what I wanted to talk about today, the idea of healthy versus unhealthy governance, and using the kino as inspiration, and also, taking stock of where we are and where we can go next. So, mahalo for your time. I always talk, I have statements, but then I have to, speak from over here, so just gotta share. All right. I love you all. Aloha.